Welcome to Dodger Stadium. The playoffs are going to be here for at least a couple of days. But if they're not here deep until October, well, it may not sound fair, but this year might be a failure.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com? Like Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, including San Francisco. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. I said San Francisco because obviously I'm here at Dodger Stadium. And, well, for Dodger fans, of which many are walking by me right now, they're not big fans of San Francisco here. They just said, look at, I gotta get the bleep button because right now they don't know that I'm completely neutral on all matters in terms of baseball. However, I'm trying. Right there, you see right there is the replica of one of the World Series rings that the Dodgers have won over the years. This one specifically is from 1959. That's the first World Series championship the Dodgers ever won in Los Angeles. Over there is the World Series ring for 1955, which they won in Brooklyn. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's a little bit cruel that they have the Brooklyn Dodger World Series ring here. That wasn't one for the people of Los Angeles. I actually think that World Series ring belongs at Citi Field. I also think the flags that for the New York Giants championships that are flying over Oracle Park in San Francisco should also be flying in New York at Citi Field, because the Mets are basically the offspring of Giants fandom and Dodger fandom. They're the National League team of New York right now, and those are titles won for the ancestors of today's Mets fans. I digress. I'm here at Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers have some pretty big fish to fry in 2024. They got the division in hand. They've won the 90 games. They've probably got the best record in the National League, if not the best record in baseball. They're going to be playing in October. However, last year, Dodger Stadium, where is it? Right there. Dodger Stadium hosted 2 playoff games. 2. The year before that, in what was statistically arguably the greatest year in the history of the Dodgers, they also hosted 2 playoff games. There is a tremendous amount of pressure on this team to host more than 2 playoff games this year. You don't go into this year bringing in the Ohtanis, the Yamamotos of the world, and putting them alongside the Freddie Freemans and the Mookie Bettses of the world, and be fine with another division title. It's not fair, but do you know what? To paraphrase Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, actually he said deserving's got nothing to do with it. I was going to say fair's got nothing to do with it, but I did say I was paraphrasing. Fact of the matter is, this is a World Series or bust team. They have to win it all. They have no choice to win it all. If they lose Game 7 of the World Series in the 14th inning on a balk, then this entire season will be considered a failure. That is a pretty tall order for the Dodgers to fulfill. But as we face the end of the regular season is only on for a couple more days now. Dodger fans of the Dodgers have to come to grips with that right now. Dodger fans know it, and they know the pressure this team is under. The really tricky part, however, as this is a World Series championship or bust team, is that they don't look like the favorites right now. And that, to me, is going to be the hardest part about this October. Let's face it, they have the star power. Obviously, Ohtani is hitting the snot out of the ball and making records that we didn't think were possible. Remember, he's a 50-50 player in a rehab season. He's rehabbing this year, FYI, in case you're wondering if he's going to be any good next year. Mookie Betts lost a tremendous number of games due to injury, but now he's back doing his thing. Freddie Freeman's doing his thing. Teoscar Hernandez, who got hurt for a little bit, but has fit right back in as an all-star without any real pressure on him. But you know and I know that the postseason's not about hitting the snot out of the ball. Who was the last time a team slugged their way to a championship? You always pitch your way to a title. And that's the most disturbing thing about the Dodgers at this current time. You know, Walker Buehler pitched the other day against Colorado, and while he only let up, I think it was 3 or 4 runs in 5 or 6 innings, it seemed a lot worse. He was allowing the Rockies, I'll go out on a limb, not a great team, and they were here at Dodger Stadium, so they didn't have the advantage of playing at Coors. They were allowing him to let rallies linger, and he got in big trouble. But the other thing was their defense was sloppy. But that's neither here nor there right now. Their pitching staff right now is being held together by wire. They're going to have to start Walker Buehler. They're going to have to start, what's his name? Flaherty. And Flaherty is probably their best option right now. Landon Knack is probably going to get a start. And he's not been that fantastic. You know, they lost Emmett Sheehan. They lost River Ryan. They've lost Dustin May. They've lost Tyler Glasnow. They're probably not going to have Gavin Stone. The chances of them having Clayton Kershaw are kind of like having when Max Scherzer made his cameo in the World Series last year for the Rangers. And even that was brief. You have right now Flaherty, Knack, Yamamoto, and Buehler. When I did the thing about should they have Shohei Ohtani pitch, I was doing that tongue-in-cheek. There's no way they're going to risk him for that. But the fact of the matter is, they can't afford to do bullpen games in the postseason. Think about some of the teams they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing potentially San Diego. San Diego has good pitching up and down. Potentially Arizona. Arizona has very good pitching up and down. The Mets, they have good pitching up and down. Atlanta, good pitching up and down. And Philadelphia and Milwaukee. Right now, if I were a betting man and I went to FanDuel to bet, I don't think they're a sponsor today. Either way, I wouldn't be putting my money on the Dodgers. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that because my dad's favorite team was the Giants. I'm saying that because it's true. Would you bet against Philadelphia, Philadelphia? Are you expecting the Dodgers to slug Nola, Wheeler, all of them? Are you expecting them to slug the deep pitching staff that Milwaukee has? Milwaukee isn't the 1995 Atlanta Braves in terms of depth, but they're always going to be throwing a good starting pitcher, and the Dodgers can't say that. And yet still the expectations are the same. I think right now they would be the 3rd best team in the National League in the playoffs. And when you consider the expectations of the team at the beginning of the year, that's really scary. However, they could still do it. And with that, we have to examine our expectations of this team.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individuals with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific discourses, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
You know, there have been precedents for teams that have had completely broken up and injured pitching staffs that have come through to win it all. The one that I'm thinking about the most is the 2006 St. Louis Cardinals. That team had lost some of their top pitchers, including Mark Mulder, Jason Marquis, and their closer, Jason Isringhausen. They had to rely on a cut-and-paste staff that included Anthony Reyes, that included rookie Adam Wainwright, who turned out to be a borderline Hall of Famer, but he was not supposed to be piddly-poo when he was filling in for Adam Wainwright as the closer. And yet, just ask Carlos Beltran how he did in the role. One of the things this is going to do is be the ultimate test for Dave Roberts, which I know for some of my Dodger fan friends, that was, let's call it the 7-Eleven treatment. They just did a big gulp. I'm not one of these people who hates Dave Roberts. I think he's done all right. He sometimes drives you crazy with some of his bullpen management, in-game decision-making. But you know what? So did Joe Torre. A lot of great managers did. And they keep winning with him there. And he's been able to overcome injuries and things like that and get his team in the playoffs every single year. That's got to be worth something. Yeah, I know they got the big payroll, but that's with a huge expectation as well. You know, the game I'm at right now at Dodger Stadium perfectly illustrates part of this problem and exactly what Dave Roberts has to be thinking about and doing. Look, Yamamoto came in, started this game, and he let up 3 runs before the Dodgers could even get to bat. He threw a ton of pitches. So they had to go to Joe Kelly early. So the key for Dave Roberts is exactly this. Just mix and match pitchers like crazy and expect pitchers to maybe go 3 or 4 innings. And quite frankly, I would come in and say, all right, you 4 pitchers are pitching today. Each of you are going to give me 2 innings. Give me 2. And the next game, you 4 pitchers are pitching. And therefore you'll have Kopech or someone else being able to pitch the final inning. But you maybe have, I don't know, you have Hudson, you have Kelly, you have Knack, and you mix and match. Maybe first time through the order is the only way to do it. The fact of the matter is, the Dodgers have to do a mix and match here. They have to be going to the proverbial salad bar. Now, I had mentioned the fact that the 2006 Cardinals did. In a way, the 2018 Red Sox did that against these same Dodgers. More on them later in the show. But yeah, they had Sale and Price and Porcello and Eovaldi, but they kind of mixed and matched a lot of them throughout the game. Every pitcher that I just mentioned, Porcello, Eovaldi, Price, and Sale, all started and all relieved in that postseason for the Red Sox. And at some point, each of them was kind of the relief ace for some specific moments. So Dodgers have to do this. Dodgers have to look at matchups and get every pitcher ready to throw 2. Can you give me 2? Now, is it ideal? Of course it's not. Of course it's not. The ideal situation would be to have Walker Buehler and Tyler Glasnow and Clayton Kershaw and all of them giving them 7 or 8 innings. But this is not time for ideal, nor is it time to brace for any excuses. Last year, their pitching staff was absolutely decimated as well. Remember when Kershaw got 1 more out than me in Game 1 of the playoffs because he was clearly injured? Well, at some point, no one cares about that. If you come in with a gigantic payroll and can bring in Ohtani and Yamamoto, no one's going to care if he got hurt. And in fact, this goes on Friedman and the front office a hell of a lot more than it goes on Dave Roberts. If they spent all this money, and next thing you know, they're still having the same question marks that they had a year ago. Look I'm not going to say anything bad against an organization that wins 90 to 100 games every damn year, but they still have to repair this pitching staff. And you knew going into this year that Glasnow was going to be a health risk. And you didn't know what the hell you were going to get out of Yamamoto. And when you go to a year where, quite frankly, it's World Series title or bust, you got to fix last year's problems. But the fact that those are the problems show you really how things are different in Dodgerville. And when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the fact that the culture here is so much different.
Today's episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Explore cities all around the United States, especially as a baseball fan. Check out their stadium. Check out the cuisine. And with Booking.com's wide variety of choice across the U.S., you can go incognito to your rival city. Do you know what? I used Booking.com this summer. I went on a fabulous baseball trip. First, I went into Buffalo, and I checked out the Bisons when I was there. And by the way, Buffalo, beautiful city. Then over to Syracuse, where I saw the Syracuse Mets, stayed in a nice, safe hotel there. Then on my way to Cooperstown, where I stayed in a hotel right on the lake, but was still walking distance to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I did all of it through Booking.com. Booking.com delivers exactly the right stay for you in this country. And Booking.com can help you book a stay that's so close to where you want to be. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that look over stadiums to that fabulous place I stayed in Cooperstown, Booking.com has so many choices. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Yeah, Booking.yeah. All right, you know all about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action, as it's available in most states, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I can get my money as quick as 15 minutes. And PrizePicks invented the Flex Play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. They have $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
You know, the point I made before about Yamamoto only lasting a couple innings, we're in the 5th inning and the Dodgers are on their 3rd pitcher. And that is a sign of things to come. That is a sign of how the Dodgers are going to have to handle themselves. Now, of course they can win. And when they won the World Series in 1988, they got tons of contributions from people you were not expecting. And the 2006 title, as I mentioned before, well, both of those teams were managed by Hall of Fame managers. Now, the Red Sox in 2018 were not managed by Hall of Fame manager, but we learned later that the Red Sox in 2018 were, quite frankly, not playing it on the level. And that just shows the ripple effect of 2017 and 2018. You know, none of this talk about the Dodgers need to prove this or the Dodgers need to prove that if the Red Sox and Astros had played on the level. Certainly the Astros. That was one of the closest World Series we'd ever seen. And Clayton Kershaw was en route to being the World Series MVP. Remember, he dominated the Astros in Game 1. He pitched great out of the bullpen in Game 7, and he had one bad inning where the Astros knew what was coming, like that scene in Bull Durham. So if the Dodgers had won that World Series, no one would be talking about anything with this team needing to prove something. No one would be talking poorly about Dave Roberts. No one would be, cock their head like the RCA dog when it came down to the COVID series. That just would have been piling on. It would have been like John Elway's second Super Bowl. And it's the long ripple effect of two teams not playing it on the level. And it sucks. And it sucks that it still hangs over the team. Like they have to prove anything. Year in and year out, they're winning 90 games. Even the one year they didn't win the division, they won 106 games that year. And by the way, that wasn't the way things were a decade and a half ago. Remember the way things were in Los Angeles? Just as recently as 2012. The McCourts were running the team, and this was an embarrassment. This was an absolute disgrace. This entire team was a laughingstock. The Dodgers were filing for bankruptcy. The McCourts were treating it like their own personal ATM. We were in the middle of the Real Housewives of Chavez Ravine. He said, she said, gossip column stuff, and the people getting beaten up in the parking lot. They weren't drawing the fans they're having now, and they were having such financial troubles that you can't help but wonder what was going on. Yeah, people made fun of the Mets and the whole Bernie Madoff thing happened, but a lot of stuff were happening with the Dodgers at that same time. Remember CC Sabathia? The future Hall of Famer, Cy Young Award winner and everything like that, was coming off of his Cy Young Award in Cleveland and a fabulous run with the Milwaukee Brewers. He was a free agent, and he wanted the following place for his landing spot. He wanted to play on the West Coast in the National League team so he could bat. The Dodgers had Joe Torre, Manny Ramirez, a bunch of stars, and just needed an ace that would go along with their budding young ace, Clayton Kershaw. If CC Sabathia joined the team in 2009, when he was a free agent, the Dodgers would have won a pennant or two, or a World Series or two. Did they? No, because they didn't sign CC Sabathia. I don't even think they made an offer for him. He wound up going to the Yankees. Why? Because they offered the most money. That tends to be how free agency works. That's why Shohei Ohtani is currently a Dodger. But alas, the Dodger culture was that of hemorrhaging money, bad businesses, filing for bankruptcy, being a disgrace, and beating up Giant fans in the parking lot. So before people get too into calling out, oh, they haven't won a World Series or bust or anything like that, I understand that's part of the game. I understand that that's what's going to happen with the Dodgers. When you start spending this kind of money, that tends to be the thing that happens with your ball club. But here's the fact of the matter is, this ownership has changed the identity of this team. This ownership has changed what it meant to be a Dodger and a Dodger fan. It was an embarrassment being a Dodger fan. I know, I was living here. I may not be a Dodger fan, but I live amongst Dodger fans. And they were humiliated during those years where they were not competitive, not putting a pennant contender on the field, wasting superstar seasons, and not going after free agents because they was broke. I know that's grammatically incorrect. And now look who they are. They were not expected to win the pennant. They were barely expected to make the playoffs. And now, less than 90 wins is unheard of. Superstars come here. This has become one of the glamour franchises. They were one of the shames of baseball, and now they're a glamour franchise. They were not even a pennant contender, and now they're expected to win the World Series. Only winning one during this stretch is considered to be a letdown. So maybe, if you're a Dodger fan, I don't know, you give the team a little bit of a break. And remember where you've been. Look, I know the Dodgers can't scream at the Tides. They have to win a World Series with this club. If not, and if they don't win it this year, it's going to be a big humiliation going into the offseason. And right now, I think the Phillies, Padres, and maybe even the Brewers are better equipped for winning in a short series. But the Dodgers better figure something out. They don't have a great starting five. but they got to piece it together. Maybe they have an okay 10. The Dodgers need to go far because that's the way the culture's been changed here. Another just 2 home games here and then playing golf is just not going to be acceptable. Not to these fans who are used to the new identity of this squad. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow me, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. From the upper deck of Dodger Stadium, this has been Locked On MLB, wrapping up this regular season. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.